What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Eternal Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob, and if you haven't yet, you should go back and listen or watch to our pay-per-view that happened last Saturday, Rite of Passage. I'm not going to be recapping that here, so if you want to listen or watch what happened, I tried to put a lot of detail into the matches and events, so give it a listen if you haven't, or you can just continue following on in our Reckoning Fantasy series. So, our next pay-per-view that's coming up is going to be Malice, and that is going to be in June. It's going to be on a Saturday. All of our pay-per-views are always on a Saturday. So, going forward, with Malice, the pay-per-view, every match will have a special stipulation, whether that's no DQ, parking lot brawls, steel cages. It's all going to have some kind of crazy stipulation for every match. Then getting on to our event for this evening. So we open to the arena. The crowd is excited. We're just coming fresh off a pay-per-view, and everybody's really excited what's going to happen next. So in segment 1, we see Adam Pearce come out into the ring, and then out comes Penta, and he's in a black suit. His music doesn't even play. He just walks out very somber, and he's carrying both the tag team championships. He makes his way into the ring, and Adam Pearce hands him a mic. And you can really tell that Penta's upset here, visibly upset. And he goes on to say that Rey Mysterio was severely injured in their match at Rite of Passage, and he sustained a knee injury. He's getting further checked out, but it's looking like a surgery, and that he could be out for a while. And unfortunately, he's got to relinquish the tag team titles. Adam Pearce goes on to say that he wishes Rey Mysterio a speedy recovery in this, and that there will be a tag team tournament over the next few weeks for the World Tag Team titles, of course, to crown new champions. So, with that being said, we do have a predicament. The Hardys, they won a number 1 contender spot at the pay-per-view for the tag team championships. So where does that put them? So Adam Pearce, he does really good at clarifying what's going to happen. He says that since the Hardys did win that match, and they are technically the number 1 contenders, they will be in the finals of this tournament. They do not have to compete through the bracket. Then a graphic pops up on the Tron to reveal some of our matches in this tournament. And boy, do we have some surprises for you. We will see Rhythm and Blues, Honky Tonk Man, along with Greg the Hammer Valentine, taking on Jurassic Express, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy Jack Perry. We will also see the NWO, Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman, taking on Motor City Machine Guns. We will see the Acclaimed taking on the Kings of the Black Throne. Yes, they did have a championship match at the pay-per-view, but due to Adam Copeland and Macho Man Randy Savage not being medically cleared right now to compete in this tournament, they were a shoo-in. And the Young Bucks will also be competing in this tournament as well. Adam Pearce does go on to say that since Penta had to relinquish the titles, if he can find a partner, him and that partner of his choosing will face the Young Bucks in the tournament. On to segment 2. So backstage, we see Darby Allin. He's got half his face painted. He's got on a gray kind of fluffy coat. He's doing kick flips, doing skateboard tricks in the parking lot. He's kind of, cruising around, going pretty fast. And, he kind of ends up behind like a loading ramp behind the arena. And, he's kind of like going really fast down the ramps, and all of a sudden this trash can goes flying out of nowhere. And Darby, he's got to dodge it. He almost wipes out a bit. And then he looks back, and there's RVD. And he tells him, "You better slow down, kid. It's not always smart to be a daredevil." And he walks off all smug-like. On to segment 3. But before our first match of the evening, and our main event will be a 20-man battle royal to decide the next #1 contender for the World Championship to face Hollywood Hulk Hogan at Malice. So, onto our opening contest. Johnny Gargano is taking on Anthony Bowens. And since Johnny Gargano has had this very different change in attitude, pretty much abandoning his tag team partner, Tommaso Ciampa, another reason why DIY is not in the tag team tournament, this match is just pretty much just a brutal beatdown. Johnny, he's very violent here, almost getting disqualified, almost near 5 counts from the ref, using the ropes to choke down Anthony Bowens, and he gets Owen pretty quickly because he keeps just using underhanded tactics here. And he looks directly in the camera after he pins Bowens, and he's just yelling, "I don't need any help. I can do things on my own." And then he just pushes the cameraman out of the way and charges up the entrance ramp. In our first tag team match in the tag team tournament, out comes Rhythm and Blues, Honky Tonk Man, and Greg the Hammer Valentine. They're wearing matching jumpsuits, and they're, strumming their guitars, having a good old time. And then out comes the debuting Jurassic Express. Everybody's, back and forth with their hands. Out comes big Luchasaurus with his dinosaur mask on. He's sticking his tongue out, big green tongue. And Jungle Boy is with him as well, Jack Perry. So this match is pretty much a squash. Some very athletic moves from the big man, Luchasaurus, doing some flips and taking down Greg the Hammer Valentine. And, Jack Perry, he ends up putting Honky Tonk Man in a snare trap submission, and he taps out. And advancing in the tournament is Jurassic Express. So on to segment 5, we see Penta. He's backstage, and he's kind of, looking very somber still. He's definitely disappointed and upset because him and Rey Mysterio were on a pretty good run as the tag team champions. He actually runs into Seth Rollins, our former Vanguard champion. And Seth goes on to say, "Hey, I'm sorry to hear about Rey, and you two made a pretty fine team." Penta looks at him, and he thanks him, and you were a very prominent champion yourself. And Seth just kind of looks at him and says, "You know what? I don't really have anything going on tonight, so if you want a partner." Penta just kind of nods, and he just walks down the corridor, minding his own business. On to segment 6. So, Sandman, he's shown walking backstage. He's got his kendo stick, with smoke hanging out of his mouth. Some beers. He hands a beer to Cactus Jack. They kind of shoot the breeze a little bit. And then he just, was walking along backstage. And then the lights flicker. And the camera pans down the hallway. And some silhouettes appear, life-size versions of the Firefly Funhouse puppets. This is not the Wyatt Six. Mind you, I just want to clarify, this is not the Wyatt Six. This is just life-size versions of the puppets in the distance. And Sandman, he's taken back here. And eventually the lights flicker and they come back on. There's no puppets, but there is a cold chill in the air. And we see Sandman's breath. He looks kind of visibly shaken. On to segment 7. This is a eliminator match. If the returning Diamond Dallas Page can take on our new Vanguard champion, Damian Priest, and beat Priest, he will get himself a future title shot. So the bell rings, and with Damian Priest just coming off of a very brutal match with Seth Rollins, he is showing a bit of fatigue here, and this is his first title defense. So DDP, being more of a veteran, obviously, he's using that to his advantage and really beating down and kind of slowing down Damian Priest, targeting his limbs, his knees and his legs, really just beating him down. So we get further on into the match, and Damian, he tries to go for the South to Heaven choke slam, and DDP, kick to the gut, hits a diamond cutter, goes for a pinfall. 1, 2, no, Damian kicks out. The crowd, they're going wild. They're divided here, actually. Some are shouting, DDP, DDP, and some are shouting, Damian. So after this, DDP kind of takes Damian to the outside, and they're, he's trying to use the ring posts and trying to throw Damian into the steel steps, but Damian reverses this using an Irish whip and slams DDP into the steel steps, giving him some time to breathe, because he's just taking on more fatigue on top of everything that he's already had. So he grabs Diamond Dallas Page. He throws him back in the ring. He starts climbing up to climb into the ring. DDP comes running, trying to get a big kick on Damian. Damian strikes him. He gets into the ring. He does a big running, jumping clothesline. Then here he's up, picks up DDP, big South of Heaven, choke slam, goes for the pinfall. 1, 2, 3. Our champion retains here. And the first successful title defense for Damian Priest. On to segment 8, another match in our tag team tournament. Out comes the Young Bucks. Super kick party. They're flexing. The money's shooting out of the cannons everywhere. Then out comes Penta. Zero. Miedo. He's wearing black and white gear. His pyro is spinning. He does his little strut down. And his partner. The lights go dark. The crowd hushes. Burn it down! Pyro shooting off. Seth freaking Rollins! So Seth, he makes his way down to partner up with Penta in this match. So this match is a lot of, offense from the Young Bucks, actually. Since Penta and Seth haven't really tagged before in our series, the Young Bucks, being a more put-together unit, is really taking advantage of this, and they're beating down on Penta, really cutting the ring in half, and of course utilizing plenty of super kicks, as they do. And every time Penta, he's crawling, he's trying to get to Seth. Seth's waiting for that hot tag, but no, he gets pulled back. Suplex. One of the Young Bucks come off the top rope, slamming down into Penta. And then they're going to go for a BTE trigger. They signal up they're going to go big, super kicks on a Penta. Penta ducks. He does a double chop block on both of them. He's crawling to Seth. The crowd, they're on their feet. They're excited. They want Penta to tag in Seth. He tags in Seth. Seth runs in. He's cleaning house. Big clothesline taking out Nick Jackson over the top rope, and Matt Jackson is the legal man here. Gives a super kick to him of his own. Seth's in control. He picks him up, big Falcon Arrow. Boom! The crowd, they're on their feet. Seth's in the corner. He's riling up he's ready for the stomp. He goes running. The other Young Buck tries to get in the ring. Penta goes running. A big dive flip over the top rope, taking out one of the Young Bucks. Seth connects with the stomp. Cover. 1, 2, 3. Our thrown together tag team, Seth and Penta, will be moving on in this tournament. On to segment 9. Out comes the NWO. Wow, wow. The static over the screen. This message is presented by the New World Order. Now Hogan, he's all cocky. He's, playing the World Heavyweight Championship like a guitar. And he's flanked by Bronson Reed on one side and Braun Strowman on the other. Everybody's got those white NWO t-shirts. So they all get into the ring, and Hogan goes on to say that before too long, the NWO will hold most of the gold here in Reckoning. And that's a fact, Jack. He goes on to bash Kevin Owens, saying that he's nothing but a bum, even though he claims to be a prize fighter. And that Hogan says that he will be watching this 20-man battle royal very closely because he's interested to see who his next challenger is. Brother. On to segment 10. So segment 10 and our closing segment 11 is going to be covering our 20-man battle royal. Disclaimer, real quick. I'm not going to go through every single elimination. I don't want this video to drag on too long. So I'm going to kind of give you the highlights and the final 4 of this battle royal. Plus, we do have some special surprises. New wrestlers will be debuting. Anyways, our first 4 in the match. We have Darby Allin, Triple H, Randy Orton, and Umaga will be starting out this match. Every couple minutes, 5 minutes, a new challenger will enter the ring. Sorry, guys, gotta look at my notes. So, all 4 men are brawling here. Triple H and Orton kind of form like an uneasy alliance a little bit. Orton is targeting Darby Allin. Triple H is targeting Umaga. They're all brawling here. Orton tries to get an RKO really early on against Umaga. He doesn't succeed. Umaga starts getting momentum, striking down and beating Orton down in the corner. The timer counts down. 3, 2, 1. He's a bastard. Making his way to the ring. Pac has made his debut. He comes flying in, and he's actually targeting Triple H. He's using his speed and agility, knocking down Triple H back and forth, even going as far as to climb up on the top turnbuckle and hit a 450 splash onto Triple H. Also, this is a long-haired Pac, where it was kind of like all in his eyes and stuff like that. Our 6th entrant, Diamond Dallas Page. He did have a match earlier on, but he comes out and he's ready to fight. Also, another disclaimer, everybody in the tag team tournament is not involved in this battle royal, and Damian Priest is also not involved in this battle royal as he is already a champion. So, The Battle Royal continues on, and as timer clock keeps, counting down, our 7th entrant is Eddie Kingston. So Eddie Kingston, he seems to be targeting Triple H, and actually goes on to eliminate Triple H in the Battle Royal. Triple H is pretty heated here, and with that, Triple H probably has some ideas what he's going to do with Eddie Kingston in the near future. Our 8th entrant, Finn Balor, the Prince. He makes his way into the ring. Then 9th entrance, Kane. Then RVD is the next entrant, Sandman. We see Kevin Owens, Tommaso Ciampa, Drew McIntyre, Cactus Jack. Number 16, Swerve Strickland. Whose house? Swerve's house. Swerve Strickland has made his debut on the Reckoning brand. He goes through and he starts eliminating people left and right. No mercy here. Hitting them with like a house call. He's just taking them out, showing everybody whose house it really is. Making a very big impact here in this Battle Royal. Then, as the minutes count down, out comes Bray Wyatt. This is Firefly Funhouse Bray with his sweater on. We're really glad that you're our friend. And then, number 18, Johnny Gargano makes his way out. Then, number 19, gong, gong. Out comes The Undertaker. Even though his smoke and fog aren't on his entrance here, he just kind of makes his way out and into the ring. And then eventually, our final entrant at number 20, Jon Moxley, is making his way out to the ring. We get down to our final 4. Moxley ends up eliminating Swerve Strickland. And then we are put into our final 4. Are Jon Moxley, The Undertaker, Finn Balor, and Tommaso Ciampa. Undertaker, he's dominating. Big boots, throat thrusts, taking out everybody. Gets a big goozle choke on Finn Balor. He's going to try to hit a big choke slam here. Then comes Moxley out of nowhere, clipping the knee of The Undertaker from behind. Ciampa and Moxley, they're teaming up. They're clubbing down Undertaker, getting him towards the ropes. But Undertaker, he's fighting them off. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Finn Balor, big shotgun dropkick that sends Taker over the top rope. Since Taker's gone here, Ciampa, he's trying to seize the moment, and he goes after Finn Balor, beats down Finn, and then he even tries to hit a fairy tale ending on Jon Moxley. But Moxley, he escapes, and he pulls that top rope down as Ciampa is charging him, and Ciampa's momentum carries him out onto the floor. Ciampa, he's looking very dangerous, but Moxley just outsmarted him. That leaves us down to our final 2. Jon Moxley, Finn Balor. Only one man can win and face Hollywood Hogan. So this is a slugfest here. Obviously, Moxley has more power and more bigger stature against Finn Balor, but Finn, he's got his speed here. He's been in this match since Spot, so he's been weathering the storm. So, after them kind of slugging it out back and forth, Moxley tries to hit a paradigm shift. But instead of throwing Finn out, he goes to the outside to grab a chair. Because Mox loves pure, unfiltered violence, as us pro wrestling fans know. So as he climbs back in, the ref's like, no. We are not having this. So the ref goes to grab the chair. And in on this confusion, Finn, he hits a Pele kick. And then he follows up with another shotgun drop kick, sending Mox slamming into the corner. He goes down. Finn, you go for coup de grace. This can make it or break it for him. Moxley, he's using the ropes, climbing up, trying to, regain his balance. And then the moment Finn jumps, coup de grace, he hits Moxley. He goes flying over the ropes, knocking him backwards. Ding, ding, ding. Your winner and new #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship, Finn Balor. So Moxley, he's standing there, just having been eliminated. And he just stares up at Finn Balor. He gives him a little smirk and a little nod. And he acknowledges that, you know what, you won this one, but I'll see you again. And Moxley disappears through the crowd. But this celebration is short-lived, as out comes Hollywood Hulk Hogan. The NWO theme plays. Him and Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman, they're standing on top of the entrance ramp. Hogan, he's holding that title high. And Finn, covered in sweat. His chest is all red from being beaten. They just stare at each other as this episode goes off the air. So that's going to be it for Reckoning this week. But I do want to plant some seeds for next week. We will be having 2 more tag team tournament matches. We will have the Kings of the Black Throne taking on the Acclaimed, and NWO's Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman taking on the debuting Motor City Machine Guns. All that and more next Tuesday. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode and are enjoying this series so far. Please make sure to, like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to try to have these videos up at 6 a.m. every Tuesday. You can follow me on socials. I got TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I do have X, but I'm not really active on it. And of course, YouTube. Eternal Wrestling Podcast. And Spotify as well. So I'll catch you guys in the next episode, and you have a good one.